Welcome back to the Deep Dig of Sports Pod. I'm your host, Dee. As you can see, I'm flying solo this week. Drew is out. He is not feeling well, so wishing him a speedy recovery. Today, we're digging into a whole bunch. The Dallas Cowboys thought they could walk into Levi's and get a dub. Got destroyed. So we'll talk about that. 49ers are actually going to be facing the Cleveland Browns up next. We're going to be talking about some of the rookie quarterbacks after a little bit more than a quarter of the way through the season. We're going to be talking about some of the non-performing teams in the Patriots, the Raiders, who just got a win on Monday night, the Panthers, a couple things like that. But before we get into that, go ahead and hit that like button. Go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and drop some comments in the comment section. We really appreciate it. And I think we're just going to hop in straight into the Cowboys game. So the Dallas Cowboys come into Levi Stadium. They talk a big game. Dak, gets all mad that reporters were, bringing up the playoff losses that they've had to the 49ers. So I was expecting a real showdown. It did not happen. It did not end up like that. The Dallas Cowboys got dog walked by the San Francisco 49ers. George Kittle had a day, 3 touchdowns, pulls out the "Fuck Dallas" shirt underneath the jersey. Awesome. Christian McCaffrey keeps his touchdown streak alive. Brock Purdy puts on a classic performance, looking great. Dak Prescott makes some mistakes, 3 picks. So realistically, it kind of, even though it played out differently than most expected, I don't think anyone expected a huge ass whooping like that. People did expect Dak to make mistakes. People did expect Brock Purdy to keep his composure and not look intimidated. This defense looked awesome. Fred Warner had a day. So I think while the score wasn't expected, I think the outcome was expected. When we talked about this last week, it was the Cowboys are a soft team. The Cowboys aren't able to compete when they get punched in the mouth. And this San Francisco 49ers team is just on a mission. They're ready to roll. They're ready to rock and roll. This is Super Bowl or bust territory for this San Francisco 49er team. And they came out and really acted like it. And so they could get out to a lead, and they just kept their foot on the gas. They did not let off. It was truly awesome to see. We were there. It was pretty cool. It was awesome to see that not only was the crowd into it, obviously, but the players took as much pride as they did. George Kittle was hyping up the crowd. Fred Warner was just a spark plug, just coming off. He got a pick, he got a sack, and he got a forced fumble. What a day for Fred Warner, dude. Just shows that he is truly one of the best linebackers in the entire game. And I know afterwards people were saying, is this the best tandem between him and Dre Greenlaw of linebackers that we have in the league today? I think you're going to be hard-pressed to find another one or another 2 tandem like this. So they look good. And it leaves the question, is it Super Bowl time? Are we thinking Super Bowl? I know that they have a highly anticipated matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles later on in this season. But if the 49ers keep taking care of business and look like this version of the 49ers and stay healthy, there's not a whole lot of team. I don't think the Eagles can knock them off. I mean, we're going to see where in the playoffs where that game is going to be held. If it's going to be at the Link, if it's going to be at Levi's, I think that's going to be a deciding factor because, we'll see. I think that this version of the 49ers with Christian McCaffrey rolling on all fronts, with Brock Purdy playing the way that Brock Purdy is playing, I think they go in the Link and they beat them. I really do. Obviously, Eagles had some things to work out. They had 2 defensive coordinator or offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator to leave to go get head coaching jobs, which shows that they obviously were awesome. We're seeing that play out. So the beginning of the season was going to be the worst that the Eagles were going to be. But 49ers came out looking mid-season form right from week 1. And they're ready to roll. This team knows what it takes to make a deep playoff run. They just need to make that extra step. And I think with Brock Purdy that they can. So it's going to be a good game against the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't know. I think we're thinking Super Bowl. I think Super Bowl for the 49ers. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling pretty good about it. So I did take some liberties. I did, go ahead and place a future bet on the San Francisco 49ers to win the Super Bowl. I did place a bet for Christian McCaffrey, Super Bowl MVP, or not Super Bowl, just regular season MVP. We'll see, man. If he can continue to be the best player on the best team in the league, I think he has a pretty good chance. Now the other side of the coin, the Dallas Cowboys. What do you do if you're the Dallas Cowboys? You paid Dak all this money to be the guy. It doesn't look like he is. He just doesn't perform when it really matters against good teams in prime time. He just doesn't have the juice. He needs to be hidden where on the other side of the coin, Brock Purdy looks and he highlights other players. He looks good. He at no point does it feel like he's the lights are too bright. Whereas with Dak, it feels like that. It definitely feels like that. And so you just you got to be happy with hey, we're going to take the number 4 seed, the number 3 seed in the NFC, and we're going to win maybe one game in the playoffs and be happy with that. I don't know. I don't know what moves they're going to be able to make in season, if any. I know that if you look at the Denver Broncos, they're going to be for sale. They're going to have a fire sale pretty soon. The Vikings are going to have a fire sale pretty soon. So maybe you add a couple pieces here and there, but with Dak Prescott, you are stuck with Dak Prescott. You paid him all this money. You need him to elevate his play, and he just couldn't do it to that on Sunday night. So, I mean, if I'm looking at the NFC, it's obviously Eagles, or it's obviously Eagle 49ers, however you want to place those top two. Then are the Lions better than the Cowboys at this point? Do we want to say that? Like, are we anointing the Lions? Because we know that it's just such a wide gap between the 49ers and the Cowboys. And I know that the Eagles are probably going to play them tough, but I don't know. The Cowboys, because of who they have as far as their personnel, it's just not better. And even then, so as I mentioned, George Kittle comes out with the "Fuck Dallas" T-shirt under his jersey, and let me pull up this clip really quick so that way you could hear it. And Micah Parsons had some things to say about it. He
had 3 touchdowns on us, and he posted this thing to IG. He said, F Dallas. I just feel like he's making it way more personal than it had to be. Kittle's my guy, but I'm going to say this. Laugh now, cry later. You got something for that. Just trust. If we see them again, just trust. And we're going to put it just like that. I ain't going to put too much on it. You're going to make it personal. We can make it personal. That's cool. First, Kittle had 3.
And that was Micah Parsons on his podcast, The Edge. Really just kind of pissed off. But, like, what else could he have done? He probably could have, I don't know, played a little bit better. Their defense could have stopped a couple scores. Dak could have not turned the ball over 3 times. I don't think it was making it personal. I think it was just the excitement of this rivalry. I don't feel any type of way about Kittle, having the "Fuck Dallas" shirt. I thought it was a pretty cool move, especially when you show out. It would be different if Kittle had 0 catches, didn't make an impact on the game, but he literally had 3 touchdowns. It was his birthday. He was feeling himself. Go ahead and show the "Fuck Dallas" shirt. It's iconic. So I think that's going on to the pantheon of George Kittle moments. As for Micah Parsons, laugh now, cry later. I don't see it happening, but I'm so sorry. It's just not going to happen. It'd be cool. It'd be an ultimate. If I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, which I did see a lot of cope online, which was, we're giving the 49ers false hope. We just want them, when we see them in the playoffs, we're really going to punch them in the mouth. We didn't want to show all of our secrets. No, you're not going to play that card. You got beat. You got beat bad. And I know actually Deebo Samuels came out and said, it was pretty personal when we beat your ass. So let me see what his direct quote was, because Deebo, he did come out based off of that quote. Deebo Samuel. Yeah. So via the Up and Adams show, Debo said, it was already personal. 42-10. I don't think you want to see us again. It might be a little worse. So, yeah, I mean, the 49ers aren't scared of this Cowboys team. They will talk shit directly to their face, just like, again, they talked shit to the Eagles the entire offseason. They said, hey, we just wanted a chance. Like, they really did shit on them. So I hope they can back it up later on in the regular season and in the playoffs moving forward. But it's a wrap on that. They move on to, actually, let's talk about Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is having a hell of a season. Everyone who was trying to say that we needed to start Trey Lance over Brock Purdy, just straight up wrong. I know, like, we can go ahead and just admit that's the wrong take. That was the wrong take. It was the wrong take the entire time. Moving forward, I don't want to hear anything else. Brock Purdy is special. Brock Purdy is a guy. Yeah, if he continues to play like this, he is going to be in MVP talks. He's going to be in offensive player talks. He is already booking a bunch of commercials and endorsement deals, which he obviously needs. And I think that he's the best deal. He is the biggest deal in NFL right now, just because of his contract and the position that he plays. It is the biggest discount that the 49ers could ever get, and this is the time to strike. So, I mean, they've built a team around him. I know they have a little bit of cap space moving forward. They made moves for Randy Gregory from the Broncos, and the Broncos are going to pay his salary. The San Francisco 49ers are going to pay him the vet minimum, which is fucking awesome. So you still have a little bit more wiggle room to go out and get another guy. I know everyone's talking about Patrick Surtain II. That's a pretty good piece to build around. So, yeah, I think that we're not seeing the final construction of this roster. I think as we move towards some of these teams falling out of contention, we're going to see a lot more players on the market, and the 49ers have some chips to gamble with just because they have such a cheap asset at quarterback. And not only that, they feel really confident with Brock Purdy moving forward. On the other hand, Dak Prescott, Cowboys fans suck. Anyways, now 49ers move on to the Cleveland Browns. They will be at Cleveland. It is up in the air whether they are going to see Deshaun Watson or not. Dorian Thompson-Robinson started the last game, and he didn't look good. The Browns have already announced that if Deshaun Watson cannot go because of his injury, the shoulder injury, that PJ Walker will be in there. PJ Walker is a capable quarterback. He's pretty mobile. He's got a pretty good arm. I just think that he's on the lower end of starters, if we're going to say that, obviously. But I don't know. I just don't see this. I mean, this Cleveland Browns does obviously have a great defense with Myles Garrett, but the way this San Francisco 49ers offense is humming, I mean, they're scoring. They just dropped 42 on what statistically was the best defense in the league. I know it was a false rating or whatever. They obviously weren't the best defense in the league in the Cowboys, but man, I feel like this team could put up numbers against anyone. And so I'm predicting a boat race of the Browns. I think that Christian McCaffrey is going to keep his touchdown streak alive. And I think I'm just more interested to see how this team is really going to perform week after week, especially this could be, I don't think it's a trap game exactly because the Browns are a pretty good roster, but you're coming off of the emotional high of just beating the dog shit out of the Cowboys. Do they come out a little bit flat? Because we've seen Kyle Shanahan teams just get a little bit, I don't want to say complacent, but they're a weird team at times. And so I'm still a little hesitant. I'm where in the season is that going to come? But man, by all accounts, they should beat the dog shit out of them. To open up at a plus 5.5 underdog. So sportsbooks are expecting this to be a very, very heavy 49ers win, but the Browns do have an excellent defense. They're hoping to drag the 49ers into deep water, just have a fighting chance at the end of this game. But It really does depend. Is Deshaun Watson going to be playing? Is he going to be 100% healthy? If not, I don't think PJ Walker has it in him to beat this 49ers team. I just think the 49ers have too much weapons. They are too good on defense. Steve Wilkes is really coming into his own as far as figuring out everyone's strengths and weaknesses. The heavy hitters on this team in Nick Bosa, Javon Hargraves, Fred Warner, and even Tashawn Gibson on the back end, Travarius Ward. They're really finding cohesion in this defense and the scheme, and they are firing on all cylinders. I do not think Deshaun Watson even has to play at his A+ game in order to get the dub here. I don't see it happening, but you never know. Moving on to some of these rookie quarterbacks in the league. Want to talk about, of course, the top three. So CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson, and our guy, Bryce Young. So I'm going to go ahead and admit it. I was a huge Bryce Young proponent. I was like, there's no way this guy could miss. Look at the way he played. I know everyone was like, he's too small. And I was like, all right, but he's been this size his entire life. He's been in the SEC. He knows what it takes in order to be a high caliber quarterback. And all of these things transition well into what he's going to do in the NFL. It's not looking so great. It's not. And maybe it is because he doesn't have the offensive weapons. But also he just looks it looks jarring how small he looks compared to when he played in college to the actual NFL field. And we're seeing right now reports coming out about the ownership in Carolina. David Tepper is already kind of putting his hand in the pot as far as, hey, well, we're going to need an offensive weapon. We need to do something. Whereas, just 5 months ago, there's quotes about him being like, we don't need an offensive weapon. We don't need a true number one wide receiver because Bryce Young is going to dissect this defense and just move forward, dink and dunk, and make sure to get over the top. Like, we have a guy who's a true point guard. And an interview with Frank Reich went out where he's like, yeah, I meet with the ownership. Like, some ownership is really involved. Other ownership, they step back. You don't really see them. I meet with ownership every week. Those are not fun meetings. We don't have a good time, but it's pushing me. It's pushing us. I think we're going to be better for it. It's such a debacle. I think because David Tepper paid all this money, he wants to desperately win now. He's trying to microwave a burrito when he should just be, actually sitting down and making a meal. And you just can't do that in the NFL. You need to actually build out this roster in a way that's going to make sense moving forward, because you can't just think about this year. You've got to think about the next 3 to 5 years. And that's where you have that balance of the front office, ownership, and coaches, because coaches obviously want to win now, which is really weird to say that the coach is more of a long-term, and it's kind of flipped on its head than for traditional dynamics. The ownership is saying, like, we need to do something now. We need to make a move. And it seems like Frank Reich is like, this is a rookie quarterback. Like, we're going to be fine. We need to just figure things out. We need to figure out what's actually going to work in this offense and move forward. And there were some Panthers fans who were like, hey, Andy Dalton was moving the ball pretty good. Like, why don't we just let Andy Dalton roll out? Let's figure out Bryce Young on the side and figure it out. That's not how the NFL works. You took this guy, basically traded, if things remain the same, you traded DJ Moore and Caleb Williams for this guy. You've got to put him out on the field. So it's going to be interesting to see what ends up happening if Frank Reich can right this ship and actually kind of work with ownership and really kind of hit the brakes on ownership and let them know, like, let me figure this out. We're not even halfway through the season yet. We don't need to make a desperate move, because when you make desperate moves, you do not get your values worth. You just don't. So, I mean, I hope that eventually Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers figure it out, but it just seems like there's too many cooks in the kitchen there. Someone needs to take a step back, and it is by all means ownership. Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson's hurt. I believe it is a shoulder issue. But this is every single game that Anthony Richardson has played. He's gotten dinged up in the NFL. He's missed a week already. He's going to miss more games. And that's the thing with Anthony Richardson. Everyone was saying explosive athlete, like he can be dynamic. And now people are mad that they're running the ball with Anthony Richardson when that's a key to why he was drafted as highly as he was, because he was an athletic freak, because he's a playmaker, because he wants to get in there and get his nose dirty and isn't afraid of the contact. And there's just some guys that can handle it, a la Cam Newton. And there's other guys that can't, like a RG3. And we'll see, 1 year isn't indicative of all that Anthony Richardson is. I'm really high on him. I hope they end up figuring it out and get the best of both worlds, where he is protecting himself. He is still going out and rolling around and still getting those big chunk plays as far as using his feet. But I mean, it is concerning. If you were concerned about Tua Tagovailoa getting injured, you're concerned about Anthony Richardson in the same vein, because this guy was injured. He's literally been injured every single game that he's played in the NFL. Even the Rams game, I know he didn't sit out any plays, but he did tweak his ankle in that one. And it's just concerning, man. I really hope they end up figuring out he gets healthy, and that's only a blip on the radar of a long career. But you're looking at yourself, if you're the Colts, and you're like, what are we going to do to, one, protect this guy, and two, still use him to his maximum potential? Because if he needs to be a pocket passing quarterback, he can't do it right now. He just can't. So what are we going to do? How are we going to mask that? It's gonna be tough moving forward. And then the guy that I was probably the lowest on, I was not a CJ Stroud fan. I'm going to go ahead and admit I was wrong. CJ Stroud looks amazing. I'm not afraid to admit when I'm wrong. We've done a bunch of episodes of this podcast, and I've talked a lot. I've said a lot of takes. He looks fucking awesome. And this dynamic of CJ Stroud and DeMeco Ryans looks like they're going to be a very, very formidable opponent for years to come. If they just, figure it out. And I don't think they are truly like we'll wait and see. They could be playoff contenders this year, but I think even if they're not, you feel pretty good heading into the rest of their future. You know that DeMeco Ryans is a very high-level coach, a very high-level leader. And CJ Stroud just kind of has it. He's been very accurate. And his intangibles are kind of off the charts. He is such a guy. I don't know if you've seen that speech where he's talking about, like, I want Texans fans to be proud of this team. I want you to walk in the street with the logo and be proud of this team and what we do here. If you bought my jersey, I want you to show it off. Like, the dude is just rock solid. His play backs it up, but it all starts with that mentality. And he does have a Jalen Hurts level mentality for that quarterback position. And it's going to be awesome to watch him improve week after week, year after year, and really see what they're going to be able to do. I think he looked good, man. And so, yep, I was wrong. I was the lowest on him. I was thinking it was you had to take Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, and CJ Stroud. And it turns out CJ Stroud is probably going to be the best quarterback in the last couple of years. So looks pretty good. If I had you do that over, yeah, you're taking CJ Stroud number one. Let's see here. Talking about some of the worst teams in the league, the underperforming teams. So we already touched base about the Panthers. Panthers look like they are going to be a buyer rather than a seller. I don't know how good that is going to be for their franchise when they have guys like Brian Burns, who they were semi-shopping. And And I think they turned down 2 first-round picks from the Rams. I could be wrong about that, but they did turn down an offer from the Rams, which could have netted you more assets, which could have then turned you around. You could feel pretty good. But yeah, on the other hand, the Patriots also look like they have to do something. 2 horrible losses, and it just doesn't look like Mac Jones is going to be there any much longer. It looks like Mac Jones is going to be out of there pretty soon. So what is Belichick going to do? Is he going to start Bailey Zappi? Is he going to go out and try to trade for somebody else? Kirk Cousins' contract's coming up. I think we've seen what Belichick can do with a guy like that is, 1, an adult, 2, a capable quarterback. We know Kirk Cousins obviously doesn't have the greatest track record for being on primetime, but he's still a very capable quarterback, and you can't get too far behind in the arm race in the AFC. And so if they want a shot, they're going to have to make something happen pretty soon, or they just tank. It's going to be interesting to see what approach, Belichick takes and what approach the ownership is going to want to take. But they need someone else to really kind of step in there and be like, Bill, we're going to have to move a different direction. Like, we're going to have to do something different, because you can't keep running your head into this wall. Like, that old school boxing shit ain't going to cut it. We're going to have to figure it out. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. The Vikings fire sale. It's going to be crazy. They have like 26 expiring contracts on their books right now. So I think everyone's going to be for sale. They've already set Justin Jefferson on IR for 4 weeks at least. They've already said pretty much that they are not going to bring back Kirk Cousins. It's kind of just a done deal. Why not trade him to, again, like, there's a lot of teams that could use a quarterback if you're really vying for a playoff spot this year. The Falcons, I don't know if the Jets would do it, but the Jets, the Patriots that makes perfect sense to me. So there's a lot of teams that you would want to do this. So it's going to be interesting to see if someone does make that move and what it's actually going to be, because with Kirk Cousins, you are going to have to pay him buku bucks at the end of this year. He's on an expiring contract. You're going to have to, 1, give up assets to get him, and then 2, pay him a bunch of money, unless you're going to do a 1-year rental just for the playoffs. And I don't know how many teams are actually going to do that. So we'll see. What's the other bad team I wanted to talk about? Oh, this shit show of a franchise. The Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos lose the Nathaniel Hackett revenge game. And by all means, that is going to be a fire sale. I don't know if you've seen the video. Sean Payton fucking hates Russell Wilson. Sean Payton lit him up after that fumble that pretty much sealed the game. But what can you do? You can't move off that contract. 1, no one's going to take it. 2, the contract hasn't even really kicked in yet. So you're stuck with him for the next couple of years. You have to play nice and you have to make it work. Even if you were to get a high draft pick this year, are you really going to take a quarterback? Are you really going to? You could trade down and get a lot more assets, but man, it's going to hurt if you pass up on the next Trevor Lawrence, if you pass up on the next, the next guy, the next one up, the next Russell Wilson, the next Josh Allen. So, I mean, they have some tough sledding ahead of themselves. Patrick Surtain, he's going to be one of their main pieces to trade. They've already let go of Randy Gregory. He went to the 49ers. And we're just going to see a lot more of these trades coming from the Broncos. And they're just not going to have a lot of cap to work with. They're going to have their hands tied. They don't have a lot of assets to begin with. So it's going to be interesting to see how they can try to make chicken salad out of chicken shit. So I think that's all I have for today. Feel free, again, to hit that like button. Go ahead and drop some comments, and be sure to subscribe. I'm actually going to be back on Saturday. We're going to do the Diamond Pick of the Week. That's where every single week we make the best bets on the 49ers game. We are up now almost 4 units. I think it's 3.7 as far as what we're up on the year. We hit it really big on this Cowboys game. So feeling pretty good. You're going to want to stay tuned to that. But other than that, later.